Paramount has launched a hostile bid to take over Warner Brothers Discovery, just days after Netflix announced an $83 billion deal to acquire Warner's studio and streaming assets, including HBO Max. Paramount's largest shareholder is Larry Ellison, one of the world's richest men and a close ally of President Trump. Paramount is attempting to fund the takeover of the Warner Brothers Discovery Company with funding from sovereign wealth funds from Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and Qatar, as well as affinity partners, the private equity fund led by Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law. Critics of media consolidation have warned against both Netflix's offer and Paramount's hostile bid. Actor and activist Jane Fonda, who recently relaunched her father's free speech organization from the 1940s, called the Committee for the First Amendment, published an op-ed in The Ankler last week, headlined, "The WBD deal puts Hollywood and democracy at risk." She writes further consolidation will mean, quote, fewer jobs, fewer opportunities to sell work, fewer creative risks, fewer news sources, and far less diversity in the stories Americans get to hear. And when only a handful of mega companies control the entire pipeline, they gain the power to steamroll every guild, SAG-AFTRA, the WGA, the PGA, the DGA, IATSE, everyone, making it harder for workers to bargain, harder to stand up for themselves, and harder to make a living at all. The words of Jane Fonda. The future of Warner Brothers may rest in part in the hands of federal regulators who must approve any merger. On Sunday night, prior to Paramount's hostile bid, President Trump said Netflix-Warner merger, quote, could be a problem.
They have a very big market share. And when they have Warner Brothers, you know, that share goes up a lot. So I don't know. That's going to be for some economists to tell. And also, and I'll be involved in that decision, too. But it is a big market share. There's no question about that. It could be a problem.
Mr. President.
On Monday, after Paramount announced its hostile bid, President Trump was asked about the competing bids for Warner Brothers, including the involvement of his son-in-law, Jared Kushner.
I know the companies very well. I know what they're doing, but I have to see what percentage of market they have. We have to see the Netflix percentage of market, Paramount, the percentage of market. I mean, none of them are particularly great friends of mine. You know, I want to do what's right. It's so very important to do what's right.
Paramount deal is supported by Jared Kushner, Mr. President. Would that impact your decision?
If Paramount is, I don't know. I've never spoken to them about it.
We're joined now by Craig Aaron, the co-CEO of Free Press and Free Press Action, two media reform organizations not to be confused with Barry Weiss's The Free Press, which is now owned by Paramount. Craig's most recent article is headlined, "Stop the Merger Madness." Free Press has also just published a new report headlined, "Chokehold, Donald Trump's War on Free Speech and the Need for Systemic Resistance." Craig, Aaron, welcome back to Democracy Now! If you can respond to all that has happened in just a matter of days, there was enormous criticism of Netflix bid. And now, of course, you have this hostile bid by none other than President Trump's son-in-law. Can you talk about all of this?
Absolutely. Good to be with you, Amy and Juan. This is really a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation where we have these giant companies trying to take control of even more of what we watch, see, hear, and read every day. So Netflix, of course, if they could get this deal done, would dominate online streaming. Paramount itself has a huge streaming business and, of course, is a major movie studio. So this is another situation where we're talking about giant companies merging, spending billions and billions of dollars, all the lawyers and bankers getting rich. But you don't have to look very far in the past to understand that media consolidation after media consolidation deal are disastrous for the workers in these industries. They're disastrous for the audience who see prices go up and choices go down. And pretty much every time they're disastrous for the businesses as well. This is the third giant merger in recent time just to involve Warner Brothers. We'll go back to AOL Time Warner. We've had AT&T and Time Warner. all of these deals collapsing, falling apart, costing thousands and thousands of jobs, Warner Brothers Discovery itself the product of failed mergers. And now we're being told we need more concentration, more consolidation, and we have to be asking ourselves, who does this serve? It seems to serve these executives. Maybe it serves Donald Trump. He seems very interested in competition for his favor, not very interested in actual competition when it comes to media, when it comes to entertainment.
And Craig, you mentioned Trump, the spectacle of the president saying he will be involved in the decision on this merger, one way or the other. Forget about the fact that his son-in-law is a participant, obviously, in one of the bids. How frequently have presidents in the past directly involved themselves in these kinds of merger decisions where the FCC is involved?
Well, certainly these are political fights, and so the White House might have a stake. They might have an interest in the outcome, but the idea that the president would be announcing that he's personally going to be involved, the idea that someone as close to the president as a member of his own family could be poised to benefit from a decision of the administration, this would be completely unthinkable. And even the way this whole decision is being made really does look like a mafia type situation, not anything that is recognizable in terms of policy making. Paramount and the Ellisons' entire argument for why they should be the company that wins this bidding war essentially boils down to Donald Trump likes us better. And they've been very clear in trying to win over Trump. That's why Jared Kushner is involved. They're trying to win over Trump. They're saying, we want to control CNN. We're going to make CNN better for you. Look what we've done at CBS, where we've muted 60 Minutes, where we've put Barry Weiss in charge of the news operation. This is their entire package and selling point to the administration, is that if they go with Paramount Skydance, then that's going to be good for Trump, because these media executives understand, unfortunately, that's how you get things done in the Trump era, is you appeal to the ego of Trump, you flatter Trump, and you try to line Trump's pockets or the pockets of those closest to him. That's how business gets done in the Trump era.
And what are the next steps here? What agencies do have to have oversight? And you mentioned Paramount, but isn't the head, the chief legal officer of Paramount, wasn't he the head of the antitrust division of the Justice Department during Trump's first term?
That's right, Juan. The revolving door is spinning. So Makan Rahim, who was the top antitrust enforcer under the first Trump administration, now, of course, he's Paramount's top lawyer trying to work the system to get approval for their hostile takeover if it's announced. So there are a lot of things that are going to happen in the weeks ahead. I would remind folks that every time a merger is announced, all the companies involved want to treat it like it's a done deal, like it's about to be finished. That is not the case. That's just PR and spin. We're looking at least a year of evaluating this deal, and that's not even including the fact that there are multiple suitors here trying to appeal to the Warner Brothers board and now directly to their shareholders in a hostile takeover. But whatever deal Warner Brothers pursues, probably by the end of this month, by December 22nd, that would have to go before the Justice Department. That is going to be, I believe, who will review this deal at the federal level. Of course, the Justice Department is also not what it used to be even when Del Rahim was there. It has become a direct arm of the Trump administration pursuing the Trump administration's political goals. But if they actually follow the law, of course, they would have to scrutinize this deal. And really, looking at the basics there, there's no way a deal like this should even be considered. Now, it's not just the Justice Department that will look here. State attorneys general could have a role. That's very important. If you're the Attorney General of California or New York, you should have a lot of interest in what is going to happen to this huge industry that is such a big part of your state. And this is a big enough deal that European regulators and others around the world are also going to be scrutinizing it, because it is such a ginormous multi-billion-dollar deal between these huge companies that, really will reshape the entertainment industry as we know it.
And I wanted to ask you about another merger under consideration, this one by the FCC. That's of Nexstar, the country's largest owner of TV stations with a competitor, Tegna. Tell us, Nexstar is pretty well known as a very conservative company, isn't it?
That's right, and especially during the Trump administration. Nexstar has been collecting hundreds of television stations across the country in this wave of media consolidation. They are now going to the Federal Communications Commission and asking them to waive laws to actually overturn explicit instructions from Congress that limit the amount of television stations, the size of the audience one television chain can reach. They're trying to get that thrown out so they can take over Tegna. And they've done that again by appealing to the Trump administration, by promising to crack down on critical journalism, and by doing things like taking Jimmy Kimmel off the air. This was one of the companies, along with Sinclair Broadcasting, another very partisan broadcaster, that when the FCC chairman went on a podcast and started complaining about jokes Jimmy Kimmel was making about Charlie Kirk, it was Nexstar rushing to immediately yank him, pull him off the air while having this multi-billion-dollar deal before the FCC. So again, we have the media executives seeing that the way to get ahead in the Trump administration is appeal to Trump. We have the Trump administration abusing its power, really shaking down these companies, demanding loyalty, demanding they erase and eliminate their diversity and equity programs, and demanding that in some cases they pay off the administration through specious lawsuits, or maybe it's they offer big movie contracts to the president's wife or do favors for his son-in-law's equity firm. This is the way the Trump administration has been working. This is what they're pursuing to try to do a takeover of the media and make sure the mainstream dominant media is really only there to serve Trump. And you can see that in all of these deals. You know, over the weekend, Trump expressed skepticism of Netflix, but then when 60 Minutes interviewed Marjorie Taylor Greene, well, maybe he doesn't like CBS and Paramount so much anymore. This is the game they're playing. It's all about control and dominance and one narrative. And unfortunately, media executives in broadcast, in cable, in Hollywood, instead of fighting back against this infringement on free speech and freedom, have simply capitulated, hoping it will get their deals done.
Craig Aaron, I want to thank you for being with us, co-CEO of Free Press and Free Press Action. We'll link to your new report titled Chokehold, Donald Trump's War on Free Speech and the Need for Systemic Resistance. His new article is headlined Stop the Merger Madness. We'll link to it at democracynow.org. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.